It's YouTube. Look up Get Rubix. How's that? Just really, really annoying. You can hear me? Oh, you can't hear yourself. Right? You won't be able to hear yourself. I know. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to. What is it installing? Let me switch this on here. Say it again. So what's it say? If you wish to only capture audio, not show picture, you can. The regular screen capture shows beyond others. Okay. Display capture.
Oh, your stream is on.
What do you mean?
I can hear myself now.
No.
On YouTube, it's playing.
Yeah, I know. Now talk again.
Yeah. How many apples are in your pocket right now?
There we go. So that's this getting started one. Oh, shit. Okay. That's not the one we need to care about, though. Copy. That needs to be copied here. And here.
Oh, I see you.
I know.
I said, I see you.
Please sound at the fix 3. Input. Still got to wave 3. There we go. Can you hear me still?
I sure can, Steve.
Can you hear it on YouTube?
I can test it if you'd like.
I would like you to. I feel like it might double. Oh, wait a minute. No, that might be
What
it.
do you mean it might double?
Don't worry about it. How's it sound on YouTube?
It sounds fine on YouTube.
Voice sounds clear?
Yep.
You can hear yourself?
Mm-hmm.
What about now? Same thing?
I have to unmute it. Give me a sec.
You talk again.
Shit. Yeah, I'm doing my best, Steve. I'm trying.
You need better setup.
Yep, you're good.
And you heard yourself?
Yep.
Now I'm going to go back to the getting started thing.
True. So you figured it out?
I guess I did. And you can see it on YouTube.
Yeah, I can see it on YouTube. I can see it on Discord.
Oh, man, the technology is amazing.
It's
uh,
really just this is what they made it for this.
told
Of
everyone
course, just so you
nine.
know, on YouTube, it's you. Like I don't see your
Yeah,
screen.
yeah. Right now it is. It should be the same
Good.
on Discord too.
Now it
Right
is.
now,
Yeah.
they should be identical.
We're good. Just keep in mind that YouTube is on a slight delay.
I'm not even looking at YouTube. I'm just going to assume
Yeah.
and just I guess leave it open to see if people are chatting
Okay.
or not. I mean, whatever.
Word.
Cool. Um, I might wait 5 minutes to give like an official
Yeah.
introduction.
It's
I
only
wanted to
55.
I had to sound check everything, get it going. You know, people get excited for these things too. So it's like
Pop out chat. They do. What do you think the views on this one will be?
I don't know.
Probably bigger than like whatever football game's happening tonight, right?
Oh, it is Sunday, yeah. So we're gonna go up against
Hmm.
whoever we're going up against. Did it
Yeah, I was
freeze the
at the
video,
store.
or is it just for me?
Hmm. What?
Did the video freeze or just for me?
I didn't notice it freeze.
On Discord, I mean. Oh,
No,
we've
yeah, I still
paused to
see you.
save resources. Okay.
You're
I can
good.
hide this. Show my screen share. Ollie will uncheck that.
But yeah, I was at a store just before coming home,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh wow, it's like surprisingly quiet in here, like given the day, time. And the girl was like, yeah, I know. It's like it's really strange. It's almost like it's peaceful. And then at that exact moment, someone opened the door to their like back of house, and we just hear screams. Right as she says it's peaceful,
It's just
just
chaos.
screams. We're like, what? Like, is everyone okay back there? What's going on? They're like, oh, something with the Eagles. So yeah, there's some kind of football going on. And the Eagles did something scream worthy about an hour ago.
I mean, good for them. They should be
Sure.
for all the money. They should be doing scream worthy stuff.
But it's in those guys. They're just getting slammed around. Have a little bit of it's not like baseball.
No, it's not. I mean, I watched some football last week just for the violence, and every other minute, some guy was down on the ground, and they were trying to get Gatorade in him as fast as
And they're all
possible.
massive. They're all massive dudes.
Yeah, that's not normal.
They all get concussions and brain damage by the time they're 40.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Where is this? Okay. Nope, don't want that. Just trying to. Okay, perfect. We got this. I got some notes. It just says "Don't suck" on the
Rule
side.
number one.
Just try not to suck. Whatever.
Don't mess this up.
I'm gonna get started.
Right.
Welcome. No. Um. All right. So this is our second official AMA. We'll see if anyone stops by, or if no one stops by, that's okay because I enjoy myself talking. I enjoy it very, very much. So it's part of why I do this. Um, so I put the poll up on LinkedIn as far as what did people want to see in terms of the setup this week, and the number one thing it seemed like everyone voted on is to see a full setup of Intune and Autopilot for a Windows PC from the ground up. And I said for years I was going to do this, and the heck with it, that's what I'm going to do. So I have my lab running. I made a new tenant. I made a tenant about an hour ago. So I'm going to go to admin.microsoft.com. I'll show everyone this tenant. Actually, I'm going to have to move on over to it because it is a brand new tenant. And it's got one of those crappy names too. So it's Steve at it's MSDX 227855 dot on Microsoft.com. I didn't have
It's a
any spare
great
domains.
company name,
I didn't
Steve.
have. I know. I didn't have time to set up a dummy. This is real. I mean, it's the realest thing you're gonna get. It's a so.
Sure. We're not looking for pretty polish here. We're looking for real.
This is so users. In a normal company, you would have your Active Directory syncing up to Entra or Azure here. It's going to be a struggle tonight to call it that. Um, call it Entra. I don't think I'm going to. So I have myself, right? I'm a global admin, and then I have Rick Jones. We always use Rick Jones as our test user. He is just a standard user, and we have E5 licensing. I'm gonna head over to Intune, intune.microsoft.com, and this is gonna be interesting because the MDM authority. I mean, I've never been in Intune yet in here, so when we come in, got the nice flashy new dashboard. What's new in Microsoft? Man, look at all this. Trying to make it look pretty. Tenant administration. MD. Oh, so the authority's Intune now. It's probably been like
Yep.
that for a while. I just haven't set up a new
It
tenant
yeah,
in
it often sets automatically nowadays.
a million years. Yeah, but if we go to devices, oh, here, let me go to devices. There is literally nothing in here. This did not exist an hour ago. Let's look at configuration. So I'm going to go to Windows, configuration profiles, Win 10 device config restriction. So I guess, did they give you this?
Um,
All
that's
users,
interesting. Yeah,
all
I guess they give you
devices.
it's because it's a demo tenant.
Wow. So I'm going to rip that out because not only is it stupid, it's assigned incorrectly. Okay. I'm scared of what's in here. Okay, no, there's nothing else in here. Compliance policies. There's probably nope. Oh, okay. Windows enrollment. Did they give us any of that? Deployment profiles, autopilot profile. We're gonna make our own. All right. So tonight we will enroll a device in this tenant in autopilot. All right. So first things first is the method we're gonna follow is this. So there's this website getrubix.com, and what I recommend everyone follow is this group tag series I did. So I'm gonna put the link in the. Is there a chat for this? Whatever, we can
There
put the
sure
link.
is.
Oh, maybe you could do that part.
Here, give me the
Um,
link. Oh no, I can get the link from that.
yeah, it's the group tags one in the
Yep.
blog.
I always keep
The
that
whole
ready to go.
series. Yeah. So I've been talking about this forever, and this is what we are going to implement. This idea of this group tag structure for autopilot, right? Um, we're going to try not to assign things to all devices if we can. We're going to try to stick to these rules where it makes sense. And this is the structure we want. We want this inherited hierarchy, right? So that we could have some things at the root level, some things at device specific type tags, and yeah, that's what we want. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna jump into it because I'm looking to wrap this up in a tight 2 hours or 2.5 hours. First thing we're gonna do is do our
Mhm.
groups. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna make a group. It's gonna be a device group. Because people always ask me, where do the group tags come from? They don't come from anywhere. We make them up. It's about the dynamic group that catches the tag. So, group name, this is going to be Win AP Corp. That stands for Windows Autopilot Corporate Build. So, Windows Autopilot Corporate Build Machine. It is going to be a dynamic device group, and we are going to add a query. So we can't add anything in the expression generator, I think. So we're going to add our own rule. So it's going to be device.device physical IDs any space underscore space can equals. It's going to be equals.
Don't worry, folks. You don't have to memorize this. It's in the blog post
It's
that
in the
we
blog.
shared.
Yep, 100%. Uh, any contains no sorry order ID, and that's going to be ZTD AP Corp. There we go. It'll validate the rule. So what's that mean? So this means I have a device group for all my corporate. Here, let's refresh this. Due to system delays, we're working to resolve the issue. I don't like that. So now this group means any device that joins my tenant with that group tag will fall in here, and that's what Autopilot's going to do. Uh, cool. Okay. So we got that. And just for kicks, I'm gonna make two other groups, even if we don't use them tonight. I'm gonna make what am I doing? Groups, new group. I'm gonna make one that's all my autopilot devices. So Win AP. This is gonna be all Windows Autopilot PCs. Dynamic device. And now this query will be very similar, but it will contain the first part of the tag. So device dot uh, there we go. Device physical IDs any contains, and now it'll be order ID. Order ID is the Microsoft graph speak for group tag, ZTDAP, and that'll catch the same tag. It might also apply to other tags, AP Corp, and then we're going to do AP shared for a shared device.
I can't remember if you mentioned it earlier, but order ID is basically the back end meaning of group tags.
Yeah. Yes, that's what the graph calls a group tag.
Hmm.
Win AP shared. So we're going to do Windows Autopilot, Pilot, shared build devices. Dynamic device. A smart person would have probably copied and pasted that first part by now, but we don't have any here. Device, physical IDs, any. And this one is going to equal order ID. Colon after the thing. Yep. And that's going to be Win AP shared. Let me just check something real quick. I might have messed up the second group. Did I? No. So refresh. So now I have three groups here. So actually, let me do this just to. So I have three groups. I have WinAP. So WinAP group is looking for. Oh, yep, I did mess it up. Okay, let's go over this now. So WinAP is all my Windows Autopilot devices. So if it has a group, if the device has a group tag that starts with Win-AP, it's going to get caught here. But nothing's going to get that tag explicitly. These two are going to have, so the device itself is either going to have. Oh, I did it there too. Man, nobody stops me. Old habits. So if the device is tag is equal to Win-AP-Corp, it'll go in this group. If the device is equal to Win-AP shared, it'll be in that group, but it'll still be contained in that higher up group. So let's take a look at what we just did. We pretty much just did this, right? So whatever the tag is, it'll go in the exclusive group, but it'll also end up in the overall group. All right, that'll make
It's
sense
kind of
later
like
when
my
we see it.
grandma's kind of like my grandma's stacking like Russian dolls.
Same thing. It's the same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, before we do anything to get this started, well, actually, now let's go work on autopilot first. So I'm going to go to devices, Windows, enrollment, deployment profiles. So we need an autopilot deployment profile. So we're going to create this. Should we do HoloLens or Windows PC? Could go either way because everyone uses a HoloLens. Fucking joke. It's like so common. Okay, so I'm going to call this my let's call this, I would call it AED joined, but let's just call this default autopilot
Hey, friend. Looks
profile.
like we got a comment. Dallas. I know I'm butchering his name. I'm so sorry, Mr. Diaz. Hello.
What's the comment, Lisa?
Just waving, saying hi. He's in the Discord chat.
Oh, hello.
Hmm.
Thanks for joining. Default autopilot, and we'll call this Entra joined, even though I don't like it. Okay, so this is, oh, you can't have that either. That's dynamite. All right. Convert all targeted devices to autopilot. We're not doing this now. This is for if you're bringing over current fleet devices, you can point this at them and convert them to autopilot on the back end. Um, we'll talk about this in the future. We're going to ignore this for now. There are certain things I'm going to ignore because they're not relevant to what we're doing. And if anyone missed what we're doing, whether it's in Discord or on YouTube, we are setting up a tenant from scratch to achieve uh, autopilot enrollment for Windows. It's going to be Entra joined, Azure AD joined, fully managed into nothing else from scratch with autopilot. So if I ignore certain things, it's because I don't care. Okay, deployment mode, user driven. Join at to my God, they really went in and whose job? Can you imagine whose job that was to go in and find everything that's at Azure AD?
They're not done yet. They're still doing it. I
Oh
love
my God, look,
finding random places where it
and
still
they
says
still
Azure.
kept this Microsoft Entra Hybrid joined. Folks, I'm going to say this once. I'm going to try not to talk about the rest of the night. If you're going to hybrid join from autopilot, don't. Figure out what's keeping you hybrid joined, fix it. It's not worth the level of effort to make that work. And that's all I'm going to say about that. We're going to
I
hide
like that
all these.
Microsoft is finally actually saying it themselves now, though.
Yeah, they've been saying this. Smart ones have been saying it for a while. So we're gonna hide all these things because that's kind of the point of autopilot. We don't want people to see all the garbage that's in the consumer experience. So we're hiding the software terms. We're hiding the privacy settings. Hiding the option to change accounts. I mean, they definitely want to hide that. We don't want people to not sign in with their work account. Now, this is a very important setting. We can make it so the users logging in, the first people to touch the device, have limited this to just they're only the standard user. They could be an administrator, but we don't want them to. They're just going to be standard. Allow pre-provision deployment. I always say put this on yes. This is autopilot white glove, they used to call it. This allows the device to be provisioned once before the user at the device level. I mean, honestly, if there's some specific reason someone has to not allow this at all, but this is a great thing to have because it gives you the option to allow it or not. Um, language, Now, here's a tricky one. Unless you're using Wi-Fi to do pre-provision, this has to stay on operating system default, or else this is going, or user select, or otherwise it's going to break pre-provisioning. Because if this is set to your language, it could blow past the point where someone can initiate pre-provision deployment, which is the 5 Windows clicks. Yeah. Automatically configure keyboard. We'll leave that at yes. Apply device name template. Yes, we can name our device here. So I'm just going to call my device. So I'm going to use a static character and a random, static character and a dynamic character. Here's the thing. Next big lesson of tonight. The device name doesn't really matter going forward. Everything is up here in the cloud. It's tied to the user. We have our group tag. So I'm actually going to keep mine tied to the tag. Just so if it's a corporate build, it's going to say corp dash, and I'm going to do serial, and it'll truncate whatever's left of the serial. So corp dash, that's 5 characters, and then it has another 10 to play with or whatever. Cool. Next. Now, who is this getting assigned to? Now, if you notice in the beginning, I already made a mistake, because we should be calling this win AP corp to match our group tag, because this will be our autopilot profile for our corporate build. I could give it a description, so I'd say default autopilot profile for Windows corporate build, and then we'll say intra ID join. Man, you can't even have parentheses in the description? That's ridiculous. Okay, yes. Apply device name, configure keyboard. Okay, we're good. We're going to hit next. And guess where this is getting assigned? To our corp group. So already you can see what's actually happening here is if a device does not have a group tag, it is not getting an autopilot deployment profile. It can't just exist and get enrolled in here. We want to be very deliberate with this. So while I'm building all this, I'm actually going to prep a device. So I'm going to switch over to my, not that. Let me see here. Let me can that for 1 second so I can pull up the start that machine. Yes, continue. My Hyper-V stuff is messy. Okay. Now we can jump back. So let me switch over to this. So I have a VM that I just created. That's a Windows 11 VM. And I am going to register it in Autopilot. So I'm going to say PowerShell. Now I have my Autopilot scripts installed already, but for this, you're going to need to install the module. So you would install module. Oh, and if you're wondering, I hit Function Shift F10 to pop that open right out of the box. This is for testing only. In production, whoever you're buying your PCs from is going to register these for you, and you provide your group tag. That's a whole separate conversation. There's like a million conversations. Every time I talk, whether I have 2 hours or 2 days, it's never enough. Each topic could go forever. It's insane. So I would install the module, Windows Autopilot Intune, I believe is the name of it. And then I would install the script get Windows Autopilot info. All right, but I've done that already, so I'm not going to do that here. So I'm actually going to call get Windows Autopilot info. And I'm going to call the group tag parameter, and I'm going to tag this machine right now to match my group tag, win-ap-corp. And I'm going to use the online switch, which is going to allow me to post this directly to Autopilot in the tenant. So let me see if I can remember my stupid tenant name at msdx 227855.onmicrosoft.com. Oh, it's the first time I'm using this to authenticate. All right. All right, so it's gonna wait. I'm gonna wait till the device is imported. This is happening in real time, so it gets a serial number, gets some hardware information about the device, and it's gonna post it to autopilot, and we're gonna see it soon in our tenant under Windows enrollment devices. It'll show up soon. User has not synced. Yeah, I know I didn't sync. I just got here. There's no time to sync. It's brand new. While we're doing that, one thing you should do, assuming that you set up your tenant and you have a real name and AD Connect and you have a mycompany.com, is CNAME validation. You want to validate that automatic enrollment can happen with your domain name. And this happens via CNAME record when you're setting everything up. So I'm just going to show you. I'm going to do MSDX. MSDX227855.onmicrosoft.com. Test. Yep. And it's configured correctly. So I can use my name here. So if this were, company.com or getrubix.com, it would let me do that here. So you just want to test to make sure. This avoids problems in the beginning. Another thing we want to do, I'm going to click on automatic enrollment. So this is a point of contention for a lot of folks. I'm not worried about MAM scope. Again, that's another thing we're not talking about. For MDM user scope, I want to set this to all. So the reason I want to do this is because I only want to allow corporate devices that are Windows in Intune. Again, this is Windows, okay? This is not, everything. This is for Windows enrollment. If you're autopilot, I want to let you in, or if you're group policy join, I want to let you in. Okay. I don't need to manage this on a user basis. And part of the reason is too, we're putting another filter in place in the beginning. We're putting another door, right? Another hoop to go through where some evaluation has to be done on the back end in order to keep everything smooth. And a lot of times, whenever I see enrollment problems, even if the logic makes sense, I always have my team look in here. And if it's 9 times out of 10, we change it to all and everything works. Now, say, okay, well, what do? I don't want everything going into Intune. That's fine. We're going to switch this to all. And then what we're going to do is we're going to back it up a second and we're going to look at enrollment restrictions. So I'm going to go down here to enrollment device platform restrictions. So for Windows, I'm going to look at the policy that all users get. I'm going to edit this and I am going to block personally owned Windows devices. Again, I'm not talking about all this other stuff tonight. That's a whole other conversation. But blocking. So I'm going to allow the corporate enrollment. Now, what's corporate enrollment mean? Again, for Windows, that's Device Enrollment Manager. That's group policy. That's co-management. Anything that means it's corporate device. So this is where I can manage that. And that's, to me, a way better reason to go about this. Now, is that 100% of the time what needs to happen? No, it's like anything else. Nothing's absolute, right? So every situation is unique. But this is how I'm going to set up a functioning tenant, right? I was someone in the Discord. I was working with someone last week, and they had an issue. I think, Lisa, you were looking at that when I said, take the filter off. And the filter logic made sense. Whatever that policy was looking for, it was like, oh, Windows 10 device, looking for Windows 10 device filter. That was the problem. Why was it the problem? I don't know. It's another thing for Intune to have to evaluate against the Entra tenant. So
More moving parts.
more moving parts. So we are good. We have enrollment. Another thing too is our user we're going to test this with. We don't have many users, but the users we do have, another thing you want to look for right from the beginning, do they have a license? I have the Microsoft 365 E5 license with a million things turned on, one of them being Intune and Entra ID Premium. So Entra ID Premium, I have P1 and P2 because I'm so special. We have Intune Plan 1. That makes me sick that there's a Plan 2. We're not going to get into that. Okay. All right, cool. So let's get into it. So what's going to happen with our device, right? So first thing we need, some policy. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through the different types of policy. create new policy. The easiest way to do policy these days is settings catalog. And I'm going to show you. And this is kind of where Microsoft is going. I was chatting with Microsoft a few weeks ago. We're in a customer conversation. This seemed to be the consensus, the settings catalog. There's so much we can do up here. So let's take a look. Let's just call these default Windows settings. Just to look. I'm not going to make these my policy. But basically, any policy, any setting you'd want to do, you search for here. You want to block Cortana. We're going to search for Cortana, and we're going to see what categories she's in. So search, allow Cortana in AAD. That's one of them. If I click on experience, allow Cortana. What's that mean? Specifies whether Cortana is allowed on the device. Okay, that's perfect. That's what I want. I check that. That's part of my policy. If I want to do lock screen something, administrative templates, control panel personalization. Here we go. Force a specific default lock screen and log on image. Now I want to make something very clear. If I were to open up this machine, on my lab machine, let's go to GP edit. Let's open up our group policy. If I were to go to control panel personalization, so administrative templates, control panel personalization. Take a look at that. That looks like the same policy to me. I have a path to lock screen image and then the option to turn off facts, tips, tricks. This is the same thing. This is your group policy. They're up here now, right? So, and then there's more. Like the Cortana one is just a simple setting. But anything you have is up here in the settings catalog, right? So that's one way to do it. Now, another way is by looking at, I'm actually going to come back to that. Another way is to look at templates. So when we look at Windows 10 templates, what's a template? Well, a template is, Microsoft kind of took policies that made sense and put them together for us. So when I go to device restrictions, I'm going to create this. So I'm actually going to name this WinAP. WinAP. I'll leave it Corp. Keep it the theme. Corp. Device restrictions. So these are settings that make sense under device restrictions, right? So, and this is going to be assigned to my Corp build, because maybe I want different settings for my shared build. So if we just scroll through these, App Store, not a whole lot here. Auto updates from the App Store, that's fine. Developer unlock, I want to block that. Trusted app installation, allow. Use private store only. Okay, I can hit allow on that, even though that's going away. We can do game DVR. I can block that. We can do user control over installations if we wanted to. So that's kind of cool. Oh, wait, I'm not done yet. So now we're going to go to cloud and storage. Am I blocking non-Microsoft accounts? I could do that, right? What about control panel and settings? So I can block what people can see from the settings. It's kind of interesting. Let's go to general. I'm blocking manual and enrollment. You cannot get out of Intune. I am going to block Cortana here. I'm going to block internet sharing. I'm going to block removable storage. I'm going to block the camera. I'm going to block Ink Workspace. I want it disabled on the lock screen. So there's a few ways to go about this. The bottom line at the end of the day is you can either choose to look at your group policies and see where they match up, and there is a tool in here for that. We're not going to get into it tonight, but you can see where those match up and go that approach, or you can just start fresh and look at what works best for the device. Honestly, I think the mentality is don't do what I just did. Like let's not, well, maybe internet sharing, but let's not block stuff unless we have to, and if it's a security requirement. Autopilot reset is a great feature of autopilot for cloud joined devices. We are going to allow that. Require users to connect to network during startup. This is very good for the future. Once this policy is applied, that device can never be go through Windows setup without a network connection. So that kind of ties the device to your organization. Lock screen experience. Okay, lock screen picture URL. If we want to force something on the lock screen, we can do that. I'm probably not going to do that tonight. I want to block toast notifications on the lock screen. Actually, you know what? Some of those settings I might want to play with in the catalog because I don't want to have the consumer experience. Anything else I want here? Personalization, desktop background. I'm going to do desktop background a different way. Search. Display web results in search block. Start menu layout. So if you're not familiar, you can make a start menu layout for Windows, and you can enforce it here with some XML. I actually have a sample, although my sample might be... I wonder if my sample is for... Yeah, my sample might be for Windows 10, and they have changed some of it with... Oh, maybe I don't have any on here. Let me check. Okay. I have some branding. Config XML. Layout.xml. Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. Oh, wow. Yeah, so it used to be with Windows 10, it was all tiles and where you put things. This is what a start layout looked like. But we're going to touch on autopilot branding, and we'll go through that in a little bit. Actually, let me grab that real quick. Can't prep everything. I think I forgot something. Windows cannot access DVMT9. Oh. What?
It's okay. When this goes through production, we can cut this whole part out.
Yeah, production on the live log. There it is. That's the thrill of the live demo.
Live demo.
Okay, users. Yeah, I'm just gonna find it and drop it on the machine. I don't have to. I can actually do it this way. Skirt around it a little bit different. Okay, there we go. Tenant branding. Okay. A little bit better. Come on. Okay. Watch, it was already on here and I just didn't see it.
I don't know how you could possibly lose any files with your organizational system that you have in place.
It's good, right? New tenant
Pretty
branding.
sure you've
Okay.
sent me a script for something like very complex, but you just called it script.ps1.
I do that. So let's do this on the desktop. Make a folder called autopilot branding. There we go. Okay, we'll come back to that. All right, I don't remember what we're talking about, but the point is we got settings. That's the bottom line. Windows Spotlight, we're going to turn that off. That's all consumer experience crap. We don't want that. Defender antivirus, I would not recommend setting that up here. I would set that up in a different place. So, who is this for? This is our corp profile. So, we're going to assign this. Notice how everything we're assigning to kind of comes off that one tag.
Mm-hmm.
I heard something drop. I don't know what it was. So everything kind of comes back to that, right?
You're never hitting any device by mistake because you're being so
Yeah,
specific.
we're trying to be very specific. And we're going to create that policy, and that's going to be assigned to that. Now, Assigned to what, right? All we have so far, if I head back, so let's take a look here. Did this get any traction? This was the device we're waiting to register. I feel like it did, and now it's just stuck here, which happens. There's some lag. So if we go back real quick and let's like look at our devices, Windows, enroll, I bet you it's there. And look at our first device. So that's the VM we saw. Okay. Look at the group tag. It has the tag, and it's been assigned a profile. It's been assigned a profile because the profile is assigned to the dynamic device group. Now, because of our inheritance model, because it's a corp built, in theory, it should be in both the corp group and the AP group because it inherits into the AP group. So let's go check that out. Groups. So we know it's in the corp group. Members. There it is, 8398. Great. Now if we go back to all our groups, here, let me just make this list a little shorter. If we go to WinAP, that should have the same device. It does. But you know where it shouldn't be? It shouldn't be in our shared devices. And it's not. So already we have a really structured system for as we're procuring devices, just automated, just by that tag, they're going to be in the right group. They're going to get the autopilot profile. We're going to have the device configuration assigned. So really good stuff. And it's going to have this profile right here. So great. That's our basic device restrictions. Any other policy I want? I think I do. I think I want to create a default BitLocker policy. The default BitLocker policy, I feel like that's going to go to everybody. So I'm going to go to endpoint protection. I'm going to call this WinAP default BitLocker policy. Because I think whether you are a corp device or a shared device or whatever other group I might create in the future, if you look at this, well, I think something like BitLocker should be across the board, right? So I'm going to assign that to the inheritance group. Let's see. Required BitLocker settings for all Windows Autopilot devices. And you can see this is not just BitLocker. There's a bunch of endpoint security settings here, but we're just going to look at that. So encrypt devices, yes. Warning for other disk encryption, we're going to block that. Allow standard users to enable encryption during enter join. Sure, right? They're not going to have to. It's going to be there automatically, but this way, as we're onboarding, let's say existing fleet, we want to be able to do that. I don't want to mess with the 128-bit method across these, but you can. I'm just going to leave that alone. Do I want a additional authentication at startup? Yes, you can allow for TPM. You can require a TPM. You can block this from happening with non-compatible TPM. So I'm playing with a VM, so I don't know if I necessarily want to mess with that right now. But I do want the block the recovery options setup. I want the information saved to the Entra ID profile, and I want it done before enabling BitLocker, right? So this way it's automatically escrowed before I do anything, right? And I know that the key will end up here. I can, if I have a bunch of devices with multiple drives, like the OS drive and the data drive, I can control the BitLocker settings there. I can also enforce it on removable drives, which is pretty good. While I'm in here, I guess should I also do local device security options? Now here's what's really interesting. I could do this right here, but I already named it BitLocker. And then you got to think, should you be stuffing all your policies, all your settings into one policy or not? And it really depends. In this case, I'm actually not going to do it. I'm going to leave this BitLocker because in my mind, and I'll show you here, there's a few things. So here, let's go assign this to the inherited group. So if you take a look at this, what do I have here? My WinAP default BitLocker policy. That's going to apply to all my builds, corp and shared. But maybe for my local security options, I want separate ones for the corp and the shared builds. So that would be a good time to separate this. So let me make another endpoint protection policy and call this Win AP Corp local security policy. Probably could have done a better name there. Now I'm only going to mess with this stuff here. So accounts, look at blog account. I really don't care about that stuff. Interactive logon. Require control alt delete to log in. If you like that, that's where you would do it here. User information on lock screen. This is where you can show the user display name only. Do not display user information. I'm going to do display name only. Hide the last signed in user, no. Hide user Simon, no. Login message title. So this is where you can add all your legalese. So say, welcome to the AMA demo lab. By signing into this machine, you are now on YouTube forever and ever and ever. More legal stuff. Okay. Great. I have really nothing else here. There's some user rights stuff if you want. Allow local logon. You can disable that if you want. Allowing the system time to be changed. That's a whole other thing. So, again, a lot of options here that are essentially going to do what policy did. I'm just going to leave it at that, and I'm going to deploy this to the corp group. Okay, tonight's stream is sponsored by Gatorade.
I thought it
It's
was the
not.
NFL.
The NFL's sponsored by
Okay.
Gatorade, probably. That's like medicine to them.
Mm.
There are two, now, so here's the thing. There's two settings I want. When I told you before, don't do anything to all devices. We're going to break that rule for a minute. I want some autopilot settings. So I want to do two things with autopilot. I want to hide the first logon animation. So if you've ever seen the Windows login when it's like, hey, we're happy you're here, we're getting everything ready, that animation, I want to turn that off. And I also want to turn off the account portion of the enrollment status page. If you're not familiar with autopilot, you won't know what I'm talking about. If you are familiar with it, then you definitely know what the ESP is. And I'm going to refer to the blog for a second because I have great screenshots, and I've written a few times about fighting the enrollment status page. So let's go back and try to find that so I can talk about it. Yeah, fighting the enrollment status page. So this is the enrollment status page with Windows 10, Windows 11. It looks somewhat similar, just prettier. There's three pieces. There's the device prep, the device setup, and the account setup. Since the dawn of time, literally, I have always skipped the account setup, and I think most folks would tell you to do the same. It adds time, it adds complexity. I think a great autopilot experience is when you hand a user a PC. We wait the least amount of time while installing critical apps. So 20 minutes, a half hour, but we don't want to wait anymore. So essentially we want to skip that, or I would recommend skipping that. And we do it with policy, right? Oh, I thought I wrote more about it here. I had a big picture with that being X'd out. Anyway, so I actually don't know. I know the animation one I can find in the settings catalog, but I don't know if the skipping the user thing is out there. So let me put test. Lisa, you might know this one. Is it first sync? I don't think this made its way into the settings yet. No,
Sorry
that's
about that. Which setting are you looking for?
skipping the user part of ESP. Do we still do that
Uh,
manually?
yeah, you still have to do that custom.
SDM. Okay. Well, we can do our. I'll tell you what we can do. So we'll make two different policies. We'll do. Yeah, I really want this to be one policy. Um, the first sign animation I could do manually also, I think, right?
You sure can.
Because I know
I mean,
that's in the
all of those
settings.
you do manually
No, I know,
because
but like,
technically all of the settings are for CSPs. You know,
I know. That was first sign animation. CSP.
we've got a Martin in the YouTube chat
Cool,
saying,
cool.
"Hey, Steve, sorry I'm late. You're all good.
Oh,
This is
good. It's a
getting
very
recorded."
chill. Where's that animation stuff? Okay. Real first log on animation. Disabled would be 0. Okay. Got it. All right. So what we're going to do now is talk a little bit about. So I showed you how to do basic policy. If a policy is not in the settings catalog, if a policy is not in a template, um, you can look at the administrative templates they have, although that's probably going away because of settings. Let me just. This looks very much like group policy, so you can search here for what you want, right? The bottom line is if you can't find what you're doing, what you want to do anywhere else, you're going to do it here. So if we look for Intune CSP, this is it, I believe. Yeah, so these are all the policies that are supported in Intune, and this is how to set them up the hard way, essentially. So every policy that has a nice GUI interface in Intune has an OMA URI. An OMA URI is basically like the registry for MDM. It is a protocol for MDM policy, which is the way Intune talks to Windows. And you can set these yourself manually. So the one I'm looking for is the enable first logon animation. So what I would want to do is, let's see, enable. Actually, it would be, I think it would be in the logon. ADMX logon, Win logon, Windows login. Is it here? Disable lock screen, show 6 more. Enable first, yeah. So this policy setting, this allows you to control whether you see the first sign in animation. I want to disable it. So I want it to be a 0. All right, so this tells us where it is in the registry, but more importantly, it gives us the OMA URI. So how does that work? Well, I'm going to show you. So in Intune, I'm going to make a new policy. And I'm going to put 2 policies in there. So the first one, so here, we're going to go templates and custom. And this is going to go to all my Windows Autopilot devices. Did custom get clicked? Yeah. So this is going to be a WinAP target. Autopilot settings. So I'm going to disable the first logon animation. And I'm going to skip account setup portion of ESP. If you're not doing this policy today, it's going to change your autopilot to this, like, going to be magic to autopilot. This should be baked in. All right, so the first one is we're going to call this enable first logon animation is the name of the setting, and it's going to be disabled. Now the OMA URI is exactly this that needs to go there. You can copy and paste. I'm going to type it in because white space will kill you. But plus, it's good practice typing these in just because. Or maybe I'm just bitter because I did it for 3 years before we had other options. Let's see. Microsoft policy config. That's pretty standard. Windows logon. Enable first logon animation. I think that's the end of it. Logon animation. Yep. And our value is going to be a It's going to be an integer. I believe it's an integer. It's going to be 0. There are some integers that are strings, though. I'm just looking to see if it specifies that. I think that's an integer. Okay. If it doesn't work, we can always go back. We're going to add one more policy to our autopilot settings. This one is going to be, call this skip user status page. Okay, so this is going to be true. So the OMA URI here is a little trickier. So it's going to be vendor, Microsoft, DM client, provider, MS, DM server, first sync status, skip user status page. And it's a Boolean. And it's true. Okay, now we're going to add our Windows group here. There we go. So that's going to go to all our autopilot devices. All right, great. Look at that. So now we got a nice little bunch of policy. Something I definitely recommend, and no doubt this is going to be an InfoSec thing, as you do stuff with them. Oh, hold on a second. Oh shit. One second. My mom texted me. I'm live on YouTube. Okay.
Can't ignore mom.
Can't. Absolutely not. That's no good. I don't know why it didn't come through here. Whatever. We got endpoint security. I think it's amazing, the security baselines. So having these predefined security baselines for Windows machines are incredible. And the reason these are good, so if I just say default security baseline, is because generally when folks set group policy, this is what they're striving towards. Microsoft would release recommended policy to meet the CIS benchmarks. And these are the recommended settings. So think about this as like a greatest hits, right? We looked at some of this separately. We looked at the local security options or device restrictions, but this is what they recommend. So the reason this is so great is because I'm going to make it, but I'm not going to assign it. Because I think if you don't go over this with, InfoSec and your endpoint experience group, you could set things you don't need or go overkill, and it's a little crazy. But what's really nice about this, if you look at the current baseline from November 21, they let you change versions very easily, right? So no migration possible. So this is the latest they have here. Is that the latest? That does not feel like the latest. Maybe it is the latest. Whatever.
November 21?
Yeah.
Yep, sure is.
Okay. Well, hey, listen. So when November 22 comes out, you'll be able to compare what changed very easily and then go through. So it's a great thing to do, right? Because this makes it very easy to operationalize the change as opposed to sitting down and going through group policies one by one, back and forth with InfoSec. So, and they also have these available for not just Windows, but you have your Defender for Endpoint baseline, Microsoft Edge, and then you have the Office stuff or Microsoft 365. Then you have your cloud PCs, your Windows 365. That stuff's amazing too. That'll be another AMA. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff here. I did the video last week or 2 weeks ago about the endpoint privilege management. This tenant doesn't have the license. Here's the deal. It sucks that Microsoft's got all these add-ons. These loot crates, we'll call them. I would say endpoint privilege management and the remote help are pretty good. I think that's in a bundle, but it's your call. I like integrated and native. I also don't pay for this stuff though, so it's not really not really up to me. So those are my policies. Configuration profiles. Again, this is still an AMA, so if people are watching and have questions, that's fine. You can shout them out or type them out, and that's what Lisa's here for. Update rings. We need an update ring. So best practice is to create several rings for updates. So you can have, let's see, ring 1. We'll call this day 0, testing. First, initial testing for quality and feature updates. So this is basically how you handle your Windows updates here. You determine if these are other Microsoft products aside from Windows, if you're going to include drivers, which I definitely would. Quality and feature deferrals. So features are your main, like 23H2 just came out, right? So how long are you deferring that for? Quality updates are your monthly security patches. In this case, because this is my test ring, my users here, and I am going to assign this to users. This is a little different. My users here will be the guinea pigs. Day 0 testing. An update comes out, they get it first. Am I upgrading from 10 to 11? No, I can do that separately. I can set how long I want to allow them to be able to uninstall. 10 days, I can make that 15 maybe. Enable pre-release builds. No, we're not going to test that much. Day 0 is good enough. We can auto install at a maintenance time, and maintenance time is the inverse of active hours. We can auto install and restart at maintenance time. We can do scheduled. So scheduled is nice because now you can get back to for people who like to do, okay, I want my patches to be the second week of the month on a Monday at, 4 a.m. Whatever, you can do that. I'm not going to go to that extent. I'm just going to auto install at maintenance time. Allow restart checks, the option to pause. So this is all behavior for Windows updates. Now, there's, again, a whole other rabbit hole about doing it this way and how that works. So it's definitely something to get into. But I'm going to have now groups. All right, I didn't make the group yet. So let me just make the policy. So what I would do in this case, I do want to have some user groups. So how do I want to do this? Let's do group name. I want to do IT. I'm going to call it, IT test. That's my IT test group. Group of update testers in IT. I can make that assigned. I want to make another group called First Wave Update Users. Users who receive Windows updates first. And I'm going to create 2 more groups. I'm going to do a broad deployment group of most users who receive updates between 30 and 90 days post-release. And then I can have like a C-level group, right? Executives, employees who receive updates last. Not that I agree with that. I think everyone should be updated because that's an attack vector, but this is just a common ask from folks. So the way I outline that out, and those groups were a little sloppy, but it doesn't really matter. I just wanted to match my deployment ring. So I have my ring 1 day 0 testing. My ring 2 is going to be, what did I call ring 1? Hold on, wait, cancel. Okay, ring 2. We're going to call this, let me see, ring 2. We're going to call this 30-day 30-day first wave. So this will be for feature updates. I'm going to put a 30-day deferral. Quality, I don't really recommend putting more than a week. I'm going to add that group. So this is going to be my, what did I call them? I called them first wave update users. My day 0 testing, that can go to add group. That'll be my IT test group. I'm going to create a third ring. So ring 3, we're going to call that 60 days. Broad deployment. So that'll be 60. We'll leave quality on 5. And we'll go ahead and assign that to the is it broad? What did I call it? Oh, broad deployment group. Look at me matching it up. Names are hard. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't keep the. Hold on a second. That's gonna look weird. Oh, come on. Yep. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's all breaking. Everything broke. Okay. Ring 3. And lastly, I'm going to do a ring 4. We're going to do 90 days sea level. So we're going to do a 90-day deferral there. 5 on quality. Okay, this will be my sea level. Again, I don't condone it. It's just very popular, and I'm showing it as an example. Let's take a look at what we have. So again, with just the Windows Update rings, I have four rings. So my first ring is day 0 testing for an IT group, right? First folks to get the feature update when it comes out, get to mess with it. Maybe they have a set of tasks they use to test. Obviously, if we're testing a broader series of apps, then we want to look at insider release testing, and also maybe first wave will be further out. But in this example, I have 30 days so that I can yay or nay the first wave of users. So that's what my ring 2 is. It's a 30-day feature deferral, 5-day quality deferral. For maybe friends of IT or users I've identified as savvy. And again, I am doing this at the user level so that I can base this on the people, not the device. My third ring is my broad deployment ring. I've had no complaints from, I've cleared it with IT. First wave looks good. I'm going to go broad. 60 days, feature deferral. Quality is still 5. We don't want that to go too long, and I'm blasting it out. And then to be safe, if my company requires it, I have a C-level group that doesn't get touched for 90 days after that feature update. So by this logic, 23H2 comes out. IT starts testing it now. Before Christmas, the first wave gets it. Right after the new year, it goes broad across most folks. My C levels won't see it till February, March. Longer if I want to. So that's the idea behind it. Again, this is an example, right? You can also individually do feature and quality updates separately. So that's all good stuff. Okay, I have my policy, I have my updates. Apps. We need applications. So, get apps, Windows. So the good news is that the Microsoft apps, like Office, are built in. All we have to do is select them. I'm going to leave the default name. I can leave a lot of defaults here, actually. I'm just going to keep this basic for now. Office apps. I don't want Access or a publisher. I just want to keep it basic. I I don't need Visio or Project. I can make them available later. We'll probably do a video on that because there's a trick to that. Default file format, I'm going to leave this on Office Open Document format. Update channel, I want to be on the monthly enterprise channel. Latest version, remove other versions. If you want to be specific, you can choose what's going out with your autopilot build, but we're not going to do that. No, we're not using shared computer activation here. We might do that for our shared device build. Accept the Microsoft license terms on behalf of the user. Yes. No background service, and I don't need other language packs, but this is where you can install them, which is really nice. Okay, this is going to go out to my corp devices. All right, great. What other apps do I need? So one thing that's really important that I recommend everyone has is, let's see, autopilot branding. If you're not familiar with Michael Niehouse's autopilot branding script, get familiar with it. We can throw a link in here. This allows you to customize your Windows deployment. This is what makes it possible to get rid of imaging. This is where you're stripping out bloatware. You're creating settings. I'm going to show you some of the things I do in my so actually, let me open Visual Studio Code, and I will show you what I use in the package and what I will be using here. So desktop, autopilot branding. So this is the autopilot branding script. It's doing a bunch of things, for lack of a better term, but it's setting my wallpaper for me. It's setting up some basic policy. I'm applying a custom start menu layout. This is what I was speaking about before. Here are some of the things it's doing, right? I'm that thing on the desktop where you don't have the checklist on the icons. I'm taking that away. I'm disabling the built-in chat icon on the taskbar. Just things you would do in an image. When people say, well, I image, I do all these things. You just do them here now. I'm blasting away all the built-in bloatware I don't want. I'm actually doing, this is a cool trick I've always done. We're forcing OneDrive to update first before the user gets to the desktop so that the sync starts immediately. And we can also push out Teams here as well. Actually, I don't think I need this here. I'm going to take this out for now, the Teams thing. That's a nice thing. You can just comment things out as you don't need them. Oh, I was hiding the first user sign-in animation here as well. I need to do it with policy. I'll let the policy do it. We can add features on demand, enable optional features, disable features. We could set the time zone here. One thing I want to do is this Windows 11 context menu piece right here. So I want to active username, get PS drive for object HK users. Yeah, I want to actually include this. I want to HK users already set up. Yeah, let me copy this line. That's pretty cool. This will actually revert Windows 11 to the default right-click context menu. I'm going to build this into the script real quick. So this is going to be... So some of the user stuff, you see what we do here? We load the temp user in HKLM. And then we unload it after. Unload here. So that allows us to do things like this, right, in the temp user class. So I'm going to do HKLM temp user. There we go. Nice, 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 nice. Cool. Taskbar orientation, we can play with that. Yeah, I can do a follow-up here, additionally. I did the one video on how to do it. but I'm just going to throw it in there for now. Cool. So I definitely want this package as an application. And in order to do that, I'm going to take that whole directory and I'm going to put it in my Win32 apps directory. Okay, autopilot branding, it's right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my command line tool, see Microsoft Win32 content prep, Intune WinApp util, C for container, so that's C Win32, autopilot branding. The setup file is autopilot branding.ps1, and I'm going to put it in the same place where the source files are. And apparently I've done this before. Okay, so now I have my autopilot branding app. Okay, so let's go ahead and set that up. Did the Office apps ever show up? Yeah, there they are. Okay, add. Okay, WinApp 32. So I want my. There it is. Okay, so we're going to call it autopilot branding. Description. Customize Windows PC. Customize Windows PC during autopilot provisioning. That's good enough. Publisher. We'll say Michael Niehaus. Image. I actually have an image for this. It's just a settings icon, but it's good enough. Not that I need one. Okay, my install command. I talked about this in my other video about apps, but whenever you're running an install command, this is you in the command line running a system. So PowerShell, exe, execution, policy, bypass, and then we are going to do autopilot branding.ps1. Did I do that right? Yeah. No uninstall command, asterisk. I know you can move files, stuff like that. I'm just going to leave it alone. Requirements, I don't really care for this. That's fine. Okay, detection rules. So I make a detection rule in the... What happened to Visual Studio Code? Where'd it go? Yeah, so in the beginning of this autopilot branding, we are creating this detection rule. So it's program data, Microsoft autopilot branding.ps1.tag. So that will be our detection rule. So that Intune knows if the app is there. So C, program data, Microsoft autopilot branding. That's the folder, and then the file is autopilot branding.ps1.tag. Let me make sure about that. ps1.tag. Yep. And it exists. Okay, this is going to all my autopilot devices. So it's going to go to my AP group. Okay. And it's gonna, once you do that here, you're going to see it's going to upload. I spoke at an event a few weeks ago, and some folks said this was a problem, like it not uploading or would time out. One, what kind of internet connection are you on when you're administering Intune? It would have to be pretty bad. And how big is the app? If it's timing out, delete it and start over. I wouldn't trust that. Some bits are probably messed up at that point. So yeah, I wouldn't play that game. Okay, so a few other apps. Not to make this a lesson in apps, but a question I get a lot is if apps have a lot of stuff in them, things like that. So the one I always like to show is Acrobat Reader. So see, Windows. So here I have the exe, and I'm just gonna unzip it and see what's in it. Okay, so there's our MSI file. There's the setup exe, the setup ini. We should have the MST file in here. Oh, MSP file. MST. We don't have the MST in here. So in some cases, these need to be modified. So I'm going to extract everything. Oop. So where is it going? It's going to C, Win32, acro read. Okay, let's go check that out. Acro read. So a lot of times folks will have these more traditional installs and things are written in BAT or CMD files. So here, I'm going to actually make one and we can talk about it. So we'll call it install.cmd. Okay, so what might we find here? Well, we can do MSI exe, MSI exec, I, DP0, oh, DP0. Actually, I missed the relative. Relative is till DP0. Acro read dot MSI. If you had your transforms in here, you could do that. Equals tilde percent tilde DP0. You might call that your acro read MSP or MST. So whatever you generally want to do there, I generally see that. So you can generally keep your command the same. This probably isn't the best way to do it, but command line arguments, QN, you can do your logging, LV, C, install reader, log. So whatever you want to do, I'm just going to keep the QN. But the point is, you can definitely do a command file there. And it not be a problem if you want to keep that. So let's close that out. I have that. So now when I package this, let's do that now. So we're going to do C, Microsoft 32, C. This is going to be Win32, acro read. My setup file is now not going to be anything in the package. It's going to be my install.cmd file. And my output, again, the same place. Okay. That looked like it crashed. That was weird. No, didn't make it. It's pretty messed up. Let's try that again. There's a lot of stuff. It's not that much stuff in the package. I'm not even saying deploy reader this way. I'm saying this is one example. Okay, now it's going. Or it looked like it went. Ah. Totally crashed on me. Let's try it a different way. Let's try it as admin. I don't know why I'm doing it. I just realized like that. Or maybe this is a good time to stop packaging apps this way. Oh, we got it. Okay. Maybe it was because I wasn't admin. There it is. No big deal. Let's go get that one ready. Okay. Okay, so if I go back to Intune, let's add another app. I definitely want an icon for this. So Adobe Reader logo. Yeah, that's fine. Save image as acro read. Yeah, that's fine. Because I want to make this available. I don't want to make this a required install, just in case it sucks. Windows app Win32. Select app package file. So Adobe Acrobat Reader. I like going here for the descriptions. Cool. Packages. Packages. Okay. Adobe Acrobat Reader. Good old chocolatey. Here you go. There you go. Look at that. Beautiful. Adobe. I don't know the version. I don't care. Probably should care, but again, we're getting a device enrolled in under 2 hours from literally building the tenant. So if it was all this easy, then I would have nothing to do. So my install command is going to be install command. There's nothing else there to do. So, does that need to be quotes? I don't think so. I'm going to leave it alone. I think that's fine. My uninstall command, now this could essentially be the official, this will be the official Adobe uninstall command, which I actually don't know what that is. So if you're ever curious, this guy does a good one. So Adobe Acrobat Reader silent uninstall. Typically you would go to a reference machine and do that, but where's that guy's site? It's like silent install. I hate this so much. I don't know why this isn't set to use Google. Acrobat Reader silent uninstall. There, silent install HQ. This guy. There he is, Jason. This is the man. Silent uninstall, expand to show full article. What is this? Get away from me. Man, ads suck. Yeah, I'm just going to go with one of these. But whatever, you could get this from your reference machine when you actually set this up, which I do recommend doing. Whatever, just leave it like that for now. We're going to leave this. Maybe we'll make this one 20H2 minimum. Okay, manually configure. Now here's what's interesting. For your detection rules. Actually, I'm gonna show you a trick to this. Actually, this is a hard way to do this. Let's do something else. So when we package this is like a trick you can do. So even though I should have thought of this before, let me kill this install to Intune Win. So because we have an MSI, a lot of information will get extracted there. So what we can do is instead of, I'm just going to move this for a minute, instead of pointing to the install command, because that's going to get packaged, we don't have to point to it. I don't know why I did that actually, but we could just do this instead. So we can say C Win32 acro read. Our setup file is going to be acroread.msi, and we're going to spit that out in the same place. Now, what this is going to do is because it doesn't really matter what the setup file is, except for this. If you have an MSI involved, the Win32 content prep tool can extract information from it. And you'll see this is actually going to give us, it's going to make our lives a lot easier. We call this a brain fart in the industry. Okay, now watch what happens. When I add the app to Intune, check this out. It's going to pull a bunch of, yeah, there we go. It got the version, publisher is Adobe. We still have to provide the logo, but that's perfectly fine. See, now it's going to pull all that out. And look at this. It gave us our, I was right about the uninstall command. It gave us the install and uninstall, and I could just switch this to install.cmd. Because it's also going to give us our detection rule if we want to leave it the way it is, which will be the MSI. You just click MSI. Boom. Now we're good to go. So for assignments, I'm going to make this app available to, I'll say all users. And now it's going to upload. So we'll get, you can watch it go here. If you click on the little bell, now you can watch the percentage. This app's a little bigger than the other one, so it'll take a minute. While we're doing that, I'm going to get some information for our next app. Last app I want to do is I want to do Chrome, and I want to make it part of the required install. So I know what my install line is going to be in my uninstall. For detection with Chrome, I prefer to do the file. So I think we're going to do Google, no, it'll be program files. .google.chrome.application. Yeah, it'll be this chrome.exe here. Cool. Actually, I forgot to check on that machine. Oh, that machine was done. I'm going to shut it down. After you've registered something on autopilot, you always want to shut it down. Yeah, we'll shut it down. We'll come back to that later. Oh, there we go. All right, are you done yet? I don't have to sit here and wait for it, like for paint to dry. Anything else I need? Let me think before I enroll this device. High memory usage detected. Well, yeah, that's going to happen. It's a new, like, edge warning. Yeah, I mean, we're on a VM remoting into a thing on another machine, so. Scripts is where we could deploy PowerShell scripts. Really don't need to do that. Well, platform scripts, or these were the proactive remediations. But they changed those. They changed everything, right? The names are all different. I showed this before. My device should be all set to go. In devices. Yep, it's assigned. When you're looking at a device in autopilot, you want to know if it's like ready to go, if it won't have install problems. This is perfect. First of all, don't assign to a user. Just don't do that. There's no reason to do that. That's ridiculous. Unless it's like a real white glove experience for an executive, don't do that. It doesn't matter. The user, when they first sign in, that's how it'll be connected to them. We want a associated Entra device or Azure AD object, and then nothing for Intune yet because it's not enrolled. So this is a perfect, this is exactly what you want to see before you know that the device is good to enroll. Okay, let's get our last app. So Chrome. I have Chrome. Let me go ahead and make the package again because I don't know what was in the first one. Let's see, Win32, Google Chrome. My setup file is, what is my setup file? It's a weird name. I remember it's this. Just gotta copy the whole thing. And my output is the same place. What did I do wrong? CSO. Google Chrome. What happened? I'm not going to play its games tonight. Wrap my app. No. I don't know why it's acting weird. It does that. All right, now I have it. So we're going to go to apps, add, Win32, select app package. So this is going to be Win32. And because that was an MSI, it's going to extract all that. Just put in the publisher. I have the image for Chrome from the blog last week. It is here. Cool. I'm going to leave the default install and uninstall. I'm just going to change the detection rule. Manually configure, and that's going to be a file. All right, the path is going to be, I have the path already open. The path is this. The file should just be Chrome.exe. Yep, Chrome.exe. And that's going to be required for my corp build. All right, so now we have a few apps. Some are available, the others are required. So how do we know what we want to be there before the user signs in when we enroll this through Autopilot, and what is that going to be like? Another really important thing. If you want Windows Hello or don't want Windows Hello on your devices, this is a very important enrollment decision. When you go to Windows Enrollment, Hello for Business, you can leave this. This is not configured. So this will allow a user to go ahead and set up Hello if they want to, or not, unless you disable it. So you can disable it here. Configure Hello for Business. I have it disabled. And then it's probably also a good idea to disable this at the device level, or leave that not configured and enable or disable at the device level. This is something that a lot of folks forget to do, and it's Windows Hello is great if the business is set up for it. A lot of the time, folks don't understand that authentication with Windows Hello for Business will become a problem if you're authenticating to on-prem resources without the proper infrastructure, like the Cloud Trust. So I am going to make another policy, and I think it's identity protection. Yes, it is. And I'm going to call it WinAP disable Windows Hello for Business. Disabled. And this one is also going to go to the higher level group. Actually, did I assign my autopilot settings? Who did I assign that to? WinAP. That should be assigned to you. Yeah, well, that's fine. Okay. We are good. Our apps are good. I want to throw a few more into the available section as actually, well, no, let's do this. Let's do the new store app. That'll give us some of the WinGet stuff. So VLC. Let's do VLC. Next. This is actually cool. All right, so let's actually do it this way. I'm going to deploy this to my corp group. This will make for a good example. And do they have Notepad++? Let's look. Store new. This is the new, like, they've integrated Winget into stuff, so it's really cool. Notepad for Windows, Notepad++. They don't have Notepad++ yet? Man, that just sucks. Let me open up the chat in case Lisa Dodge absolutely needs compliance policies. Okay, what else do they got here? We have something else we can add. Can we add 7-zip? All right, that's the UWP app. Oh man, Sublime Text. Do they have that? At this point, I'm just reaching for anything. GIMP. Oh, they have GIMP. Oh, it's not have the latest package. Not supported in preview. Why am I not surprised? Visual Studio. VMware. I'm just thinking about apps. Whatever. Okay, let's leave that alone. Get one more in there. How about... Yeah, that's not going to be one. Who has an app idea? What's an app? It's like a common app you would install, like with Nine Night and stuff like that. Firefox. Come on, UWP? You know what? That's fine. I don't care. Good enough. It'll be available to all users. Okay, done. Don't want to waste time on that. Okay, so two more things. I just remembered actually as I'm going through this. So one will be compliance policy. They make one for, I don't know why. I hate when they give you stuff for free with like the lab. Okay, so my compliance policy for Windows 10 and later. So this will be default Windows compliance policy. Device health. BitLocker require. The problem is if we switch BitLocker to require, that's going to cause problems with compliance early on. So we want to do. We basically want to require encryption of data storage on the device. I'm going to do that one, and I'm going to do. I don't have Defender on there. Device properties. I could do a minimum OS version. I don't think that's good. Secure boot. Could do TPM. I'm on a VM. That's the reason I'm not doing TPM. Otherwise, I would say that's a safe bet. Custom compliance is cool. I'd like to do an episode about that. I'll leave the encryption one for now. And I'll do... That should be on. Let me do antivirus. That'll be to... that should be all devices. No, I only want that to go to... Let me actually get rid of that. That'll go to my corp group. Okay. WinAP Corp. Okay, let's see how that goes. I definitely would give it a grace period. After 1 day. Just with autopilot, you want a grace period. Okay. Great. And I want the OneDrive policy. I forgot about that. New policy. This will be for the corp builds. I can do settings catalog for that. Pretty sure. Win EP. Corp. OneDrive policy. So I'm just going to search OneDrive and hope for the best. There we go. Oh, I was going to say I didn't see the rest of them. Continuing, configure syncing, setup. Where is it? It's like silently move Windows node folders to OneDrive. Yes. Silently sign in users with their Windows credentials. That's what I want. Enable desktop documents pictures. There we go. And again, that'll be my corp builds. All right, so now with everything here, I think we can boot up our device and see what happens. So we got all these. I don't want these iOS policies. What the fuck? I didn't do that. It just came with the lab. All right, I have my Windows configuration policies. I have my applications ready. Last thing we need is to configure the enrollment status page. So what is the autopilot experience going to look like? All users, all devices, properties. Show app and profile configuration process. Yes, I'm going to allow myself 60 minutes. Custom message, block device until all apps and profile are displayed. We are going to do allow users to reset, allow users to use the device. I'll leave that on yes since I'm testing. All right, this is where the magic happens. What will you allow? What do you want the device to sit and wait for? We definitely need autopilot branding. I want Google, Chrome, and Office. Even though VLC is getting deployed, I don't really care. That could come down later. So I really just want to wait for 3 apps. Select the apps, tick on preview. Okay. All right, great. So with that all configured, we are ready to boot up our device and give it a shot. So let me just get that going. Let me fire up that test machine because my Hyper-V lab looks like a mess and it's not cropped correctly to show. Okay. There we go. All right, so this is our Windows 11 device booting up to the UBI out-of-box experience. All right, so that was an hour and 43 minutes. So let's see how we did for an hour and 40 minutes of setup. Getting some critical updates here. Our PC will restart before it continues. Okay. So that's how we know it hit autopilot. Oh, it looks like it's doing it did a critical update check also. That'll happen. They keep that small though. That's never going to be like a feature update unless you're deploying that specifically through autopilot. The whole key to this is knowing what to expect. Like you want to have a consistent experience, especially as you start testing. So if you have, 10 devices and you're getting 10 different experiences, that's not good. So here we go. So I'm at the sign in screen. We're going to sign in as Rick. It's at, what's the name of the stupid, what's the name of this dumb tenant? Okay, Rick Jones at MSDX227 855.onmicrosoft.com. Password. Now, I'm not enforcing MFA here, but if I was, it would prompt me here. So right now it's doing realm discovery. It's making sure that tenant has licensing, the user's license. I have automatic enrollment configured, autopilot set up, and it should pass me through to the enrollment status page in just a moment here. So let's bounce around. Now I'm second guessing everything I set up. All right, that was set to all. We're good. Let's go back. Okay, so the ESP showed up. So preparing for mobile management. At this point, it should be deploying what's called the IME, the Intune Management Extension, which is a small application that facilitates the app deployment, any scripts we have, things like that. And the reason we skip the user portion. Oh, is there a thing here? Yeah, because it just never works. So we're expecting this to complete and then go to device setup. All in all, I would expect this to take 10, 15 minutes. So, let me try to pop over to YouTube because I think Lisa had to bail and I'm not going to be able to see the, let's see here. In case anyone's leaving comments there. Okay, so device prep completed. And, man, I got that open for the chat, but that is some Inception type stuff. Oh, good, I can pop the chat out. Thank God. That was going to kill me. Okay, there we go. I have that. No problem. All right, so now it's moving on to device setup. And this is where, perfect. So look at this. If you can see it, I know it's small right now. Apps, 0 out of 3. Again, so we really have 4 required apps on the device, but I told the enrollment status page to only count 3 here. So these will be the first 3. Okay? The first 3. And that's all I want to make the user wait for. So this is where the experience becomes real for a zero touch deployment. Folks say, well, I don't want someone sitting there for an hour. I don't want this. Listen, first of all, the autopilot branding isn't much. We need that. Office is an XML at this point because the bits are baked into Windows when they come from Intune. So it's really about what other apps. And this is where we have to think what needs to be here before a user signs in to make a good experience versus how long they wait here. And this is the critical planning. So, what has to be here? Business critical apps. I mean, Office, we kind of took care of that. I'm doing Chrome since I'm pretending that's a required browser I need. If you have, in my case, we're using Defender for Endpoint for the security. We'll get into that in a future video, but like, the point is, I don't have Symantec or CrowdStrike or Sentinel-1 on here. I have none of that. But if you did, this is where it would go. So it's on the second app now. We've already moved past the first one. Yeah, I'm expecting this to be no more than 10, 15 minutes. And then once the apps are done, so the policies are already done. Now, if we had things like deploying a skep cert, right, with the Intune cert connector, that would have been done there. Any PowerShell scripts, you have to be very, very careful with PowerShell scripts you deploy. PowerShell scripts will happen before the apps. So they would have happened by this point. So if you have a script, which I did last week when I was testing something, I'm like, why is it not working? If you have a script that is misbehaving in some way, it'll break right here. Yeah, we constantly want to think about user experience at this point. It's very important. And then we hurry up and wait. Yeah, and while this is waiting, I guess it's also a good time to it's a good time to talk about like what we actually did and the length of time it took. Like this, you know, to, this is what I would call a POC. I get asked all the time about a POC of this. This is your POC. Anyone can come in here and do what I just did. Few policies, some apps, turned on some of the basics in the tenant, get a Windows VM or a physical device ready to install, and that be the end of it. All I'm doing here is showing high level how the process works. You can't really do a POC in your environment. And what I mean by that is, you know, it's kind of a tough thing. If you're thinking about, well, how will this work in my organization? There has to be some deep dive. You're not You got to vet those policies, see how they work here, see what the options are. You got to test the apps. They might have to be, if you have apps that you do have a lot of scripts that you're deploying with, they might have to be rethought, right? As far as if they're command line, if they're PowerShell, things like that. So, it's not as random as I did it here, just to kind of show you how the mechanics work. So, when I work with folks and I say, hey, listen, we're going to spend a month doing like discovery of your environment and then a design for this first design. Like, Steve, I watched you build this in, under 2 hours. Yes, I could build it in under 2 hours. I'm not a company. This is not a business, right? This is just the mechanics of it. Now, the more complex things, we break down and look at those individual pieces. But putting all those pieces together, think about everything that's been going on in the blog, right? I showed you the context menu. We did endpoint privilege management. We haven't even touched the security side. Our BitLocker was super basic. Not to say that there's a lot we skipped, but we're just touching on the key elements. So a lot does go into it. So if you're sitting there going, well, 2 hours, what am I going to get done in 2 hours? So take a look at this. So you're now on YouTube forever and ever. I like that. That's my scary legal screen. Looks good on Windows 11. Now, you're going to be stuck on this preparing for Windows because of what we did. So the machine is already customized because this is where you would see the animation. Remember, we're suppressing that. We're suppressing that first time animation with policy. So we're just going to do preparing Windows here before it lets the user log in. But the cool part is I know already what is on the machine. Yeah, so that was pretty good. That was under 10 minutes, or just right at that mark. Um, I'm going to go to my devices and see what's there. So take a look at that. We're in the compliance grace period. Um, it's not a good example because it's a VM too. But take a look at that. The naming applied, so it's corp dash bits of the serial number. It looks like it got the last 8, 9, 10. Got the last 10 numbers, just like we thought. Managed apps, they might not have checked in yet, but we can see required install, required install. Let's see how we're doing. Still waiting there. Policy should only show device configuration. All my policies succeeded at the device level, so that's great. Everything was device targeted. Some of these might need user interaction. Yeah, I didn't. The VM I don't think has a virtual TPM, so we might be stuck there with BitLocker. Compliance, yeah, I bet that's where I messed up. No device compliance found. This could also be too early. Yeah, last contacted. It does take time. Oh, cool. So here we are. I don't want to auto sign into Teams, but the SSO did work. So if we take a look at this, here, let me. So look at that. OneDrive already signed in and syncing. Files are synced. Now here's a good one. If I go to settings, two things. So one, I set that solid dark wallpaper. So customize, no problem. If we go to about, okay, Windows 11 Enterprise. This was Pro when I turned it on. Why is it Enterprise? I get this question all the time. Well, let's look at the user who signed in. So if we look at Rick and we look at his licensing, he's got that E5 license. If we go all the way to the bottom, Windows 10, 11 Enterprise, by him signing in, flipped. So it's really a nice thing. We don't have to have a KMS, a key, nothing. We're on Enterprise, didn't take away from anything. Okay, now Rick is the first person to touch this machine, right? So Rick's going to go ahead, command, run as administrator. He's not an admin, standard user. My start menu is nice and clean. I don't really see bloatware. This Clip Champ, I think, is part of Windows, even though it looks like bloatware. I don't see the Disney games. I removed Xbox. No, Xbox is there, but I don't have the game bar, the DVR. I don't remember what was in my package. Take that out. Quick Assist. We don't need that. Chrome was there. Now, in the background, why are my notifications? Let me. Oh, and VLC came down afterwards. But I didn't have to wait for it, so that's really cool. Let's open the company portal. I didn't deploy the company portal. I forgot about that, so I can't show you the available apps. Let's see if we can do that real quick, and we'll see how long it takes for that to show up. Add, store new, select. I knew I was missing something. Company portal. We want that to be the system install. Add group. All right, there we go. Let's look at a few other things here. So it looks like I do have a TPM. It looks like it is encrypted. Now, I do know right here, it looks like my context menu thing didn't work for the start menu, for the right click menu for Windows 11. So I had it in a rush. I got to go back and look at it. What else do we got here? The time zone is correct. We can clear that stuff out. I believe Cortana is disabled. What else did we do? Everything should be signed in and good to go. If I click on Word, I got privacy, close. I'm already signed in as Rick, so that's good. Notice I Windows 11, I got the menu on the left because of the autopilot branding. So again, you can really customize the device even though we're not imaging. So that's a cool thing here. Chrome's already installed. Microsoft Store, private store. Company portal should install soon. Let's see what happens if we sign out. Let's see what the lock screen looks like. Yep, it's basic, no facts or tips or anything. We still got our sign in wording. It did what I said. It said just keep the name of the last signed in user, which is cool. Let's go back and look at the device and see what it's checking in as. So we're in the grace period. I just want to see recovery keys. So BitLocker did work. I got my key ID and my recovery key. Compliance. Okay, now it's coming in. Default device compliance. Hell does that mean? Yeah, it's must be in process, but we're getting there. Yeah, you see the policies start, some of them anyway, start coming back as Rick, right? They start doing a sweep of the user level. My apps are reporting in. Company portal's the one I just deployed. So he should have these two available. It's pretty tight setup. I can see the specific policy that applied. Manual unenrollment. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he shouldn't be able to. Oh, I hate the Teams opens. We could suppress that. I'm too lazy to do it. Suppress that. Let's go to the settings and the unenrollment. Can't manage that. Disconnect. Yep, can't disconnect. Only thing he can do is go in and hit sync to force that sync from the client side a little faster. Well, I'll tell you what. For just about 2 hours, getting a full tenant set up and a device enrolled, it's not too bad. Again, it's basic. Call it a POC, whatever. But hopefully that went through some of the basics here. So if you were hanging out with us tonight, thanks. We'll definitely do another one, get into some different topics in the future. And that's going to be it for tonight. So later.